You never imagined it would end like this. You didn't walk down that aisle thinking that one day you'd be sitting in a quiet room staring at papers that would legally mark the death of a dream. You believed in love. You gave it your all. And now you're here, heart cracked open, wondering how to rebuild a life you never thought you'd have to start over. Divorce doesn't just end a relationship, it ends the version of your future you once clung to. It breaks more than vows, it breaks routines, traditions, identities. It breaks the invisible web that held your world together. And the hardest part, most of that breaking happens in silence, when no one's looking. You wake up one morning and the bed feels bigger than it should. The kitchen too quiet. You stand in the grocery store staring at ingredients you don't know how to cook for one. And even though it's been months, even though the world has moved on, a part of you is still frozen in the moment it all fell apart. And people mean well. They tell you to move on, to be strong, to start fresh. But they don't see the grief behind your smile. They don't see how hard it is to untangle your identity from someone you once loved. How hard it is to stop remembering their coffee order, their favorite song, the way they used to hold your hand when no one was watching. They don't know about the drawer you still haven't emptied, the photos you moved to a folder called maybe later, the way you still catch yourself checking the front door, hoping they'll walk in and say they were wrong, that they want to try again. But they don't, and you know that. Deep down, you know the chapter has closed. But closure doesn't come with paperwork. It comes in whispers, in quiet moments, in nights when you cry so hard you can't breathe, in mornings when you decide to get up anyway. The truth is, this isn't the end of your life. It's the beginning of your becoming. You are not broken, you are becoming. Becoming a woman who has seen the fire and walked through it. A woman who has faced loss, but hasn't lost herself. A woman who now gets to write a new story, not based on someone else's choices, but entirely on her own truth. You may feel hollow right now, like a shell of who you once were, but that's not emptiness. That's space. Space for something new. Space to rebuild, not just a life, but an identity that doesn't depend on being someone's wife or someone's second half. Maybe for the first time in years, you get to ask yourself, what do I want? And maybe that question scares you, because you've spent so long putting others first. But now this is your chance to reclaim parts of yourself you abandoned just to keep the peace. There was a woman inside you long before the marriage, a woman who dreamed, who danced in her kitchen, who laughed too loud, who had plans for her life that didn't revolve around another person's needs. She didn't disappear. She's just been waiting, waiting for you to come back to her, waiting for you to stop blaming yourself for someone else's choice, waiting for you to forgive yourself for loving fully, even when it wasn't returned. You gave your heart. That was not weakness. That was courage. Loving someone is never foolish. Losing yourself for them, that's the wound. But now the healing begins, and that healing will not come all at once. It will come in fragments, in late-night journal entries, in solo walks where you finally feel your own presence, in tearful phone calls with friends who remind you that you're not alone. And one day you will look in the mirror and see someone different. Not someone ruined, but someone refined. A woman who didn't let heartbreak harden her, but instead let it shape her into something softer, wiser, more powerful. You may not recognize her at first, this version of you who no longer lives in fear of being alone, who no longer defines herself by what was lost, but by what she's gained, strength, clarity, and an unshakable knowing that she deserves more. So no, this isn't the end. It's not the final chapter. It's the prologue to something sacred. You are stepping into the life you were meant to have, not the one you settled for, not the one you sacrificed everything to maintain, but the one that sees you, all of you, and calls you forward. You didn't fail, you grew. And growth always leaves cracks. But cracks let the light in. And in case no one told you lately, I see your pain, I honor it, and I believe in what comes next, because you are not too late. You are just right on time to come home to yourself. Of course, here's an 850-word expansion of Key Point 2, written in a flowing, emotional, and conversational tone, aligned with your overall theme of reinvention and healing after divorce. 9 jurors, it's strange how quiet life becomes after divorce. Not just in sound, but in identity. The noise that once filled your days, texts to check in, dinner plans to organize, small arguments over laundry, dreams shared across pillows, suddenly disappears. And in that quiet, you're left not just with pain, but with questions. Who am I now? Because you weren't just a partner. You built routines around someone else. Your mornings started together. Your evenings ended beside them. Even if the love had faded or the connection cracked long ago, it still shaped your rhythm. And when it's gone, you feel like a dancer standing on a stage without music. The performance ended, but your body hasn't learned how to be still yet. Everyone tells you this is the time to find yourself. It sounds beautiful, even empowering, but no one explains how to do that when your confidence is bleeding. Your sense of self is scattered, and your energy is tied up in trying to make it through the day without crying in public. You try to remember who you were before the marriage, before the compromise, before you became someone who lowered her voice, softened her needs, and convinced herself that it's okay when it really wasn't. You gave so much of yourself that now, rebuilding feels like reaching for pieces you don't even recognize anymore. But maybe that's exactly where the beauty begins. This is not just a return, it's a reinvention. You don't need to go back to who you were. That version of you doesn't exist anymore. Not because you're lost, but because you've evolved. You've lived through something that cracked your soul and forced you to confront every illusion you once believed about love, worth, and forever. That kind of heartbreak, it doesn't destroy, it transforms. You are not meant to go backward. You are being called forward into a version of yourself that was only possible because of what broke. And I know that sounds unfair. I know it feels cruel to say there's growth in grief or wisdom in suffering. But in the aftermath of everything falling apart, something powerful begins to rise. It's small at first. Maybe it shows up as the moment you say no without guilt. Or when you go out alone and realize you're not afraid of the silence anymore. Maybe it's in how you start dressing differently. Not to impress anyone else, but to express who you are now. Maybe it's in the first time you laugh without faking it. Or the moment you catch your reflection, and instead of seeing someone broken, you see someone becoming. Because that's what reinvention is. It's not a big declaration. It's not a flashy transformation you post online. It's quiet, personal, sacred. It's the decision to stop living in the past and start showing up for your present. It's realizing you get to choose now. Choose who gets access to your heart. Choose where your energy goes. Choose how you speak to yourself. And most of all, choose the woman you're becoming. This is your life now. And yes, that may feel terrifying at times. There will be nights when you question everything. When loneliness sneaks in and tells you lies about being unlovable, unworthy, or forgotten. But please, don't believe it. Because the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still willing to hope in the face of all this pain, that is not weakness. That is strength beyond measure. You are not rebuilding from ashes. You are rising from them. And the woman who rises from the fire is never the same. She walks with scars that speak louder than any story. She doesn't beg for validation anymore. She doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. She knows now deep in her bones that peace is not found in being chosen by someone else. Peace is found in choosing yourself. So let yourself evolve. Try the things you always wanted to. Start the business. Go back to school. Change your hair. Take the solo trip. Redefine what love looks like for you. Not the version that required you to sacrifice your soul, but the kind that starts from within. You are allowed to be happy again, even wildly happy. You are allowed to laugh deeply, to fall in love again, whether with someone new or just with your own damn life. You are allowed to thrive, and anyone who makes you feel guilty for that doesn't understand what you've survived. This chapter is yours to write. It doesn't have to look like anyone else's, and it doesn't have to be perfect. All it has to be is honest, because your healing is not a straight line. Some days you'll feel like you're flying. Others, like you've crashed. That's okay. Keep showing up anyway. One choice at a time. One breath at a time. You are recreating your world. Not the one that was handed to you, but the one you finally get to choose. And that is freedom. Of course, below is the 850-word expansion of Asterix. Asterix key point 3. Your pain is not the end. It's the raw material for your transformation, delivered in a seamless emotional and motivational tone. There's a moment in everyone's life, sometimes in the quiet, sometimes in the chaos, where the pain feels so overwhelming that it feels like everything stops, like the world just keeps moving, but your body doesn't know how to catch up. It's that ache in your chest, when the silence in your home is too loud, that sudden sinking feeling, when you remember your life isn't what it used to be, and maybe never will be again. Pain after divorce doesn't just come from losing a person. It comes from losing the version of yourself you built around them. The version who dreamed certain dreams, who made sacrifices, who planned futures. And suddenly those blueprints get torn to pieces. But what if I told you that the pain you're feeling isn't here to destroy you? that it's not a dead end, but the doorway to something else, something deeper, something more honest. See, we live in a world that avoids pain. We're told to move on quickly, distract ourselves, stay busy, don't dwell, they say. But when you numb your pain, you also numb your power. Because real transformation doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens in the mess, in the heartbreak, in the moments when you're sitting on the floor, not knowing how you're going to make it through tomorrow, but deciding somehow that you will. That moment right there, that's when something in you starts to shift. You may not feel it right away, but pain has a strange way of cracking us open, just enough so the light can finally get in. There's a woman I once met at a support group. She had been married for 22 years. When her husband left her for someone else, she said she couldn't recognize her own reflection for months. She lost weight. She stopped talking to friends. She felt invisible. But then one morning she said she got up and looked in the mirror and said out loud, "You are still here." Just those 4 words. And she cried, not because she felt strong, but because for the first time she realized survival asterisk was asterisk strength. That pain that nearly crushed her, it became the raw material that rebuilt her. She learned how to trust herself again. She went back to school. She started hiking. She smiled without asking permission. She forgave herself for believing that her value was tied to someone else staying. That's what transformation really is. Not some perfect new life, but an authentic one, a reclaimed one, a version of yourself you would have never discovered if life hadn't broken you open. And maybe that's the part no one talks about enough. That sometimes it takes losing everything you thought mattered to finally remember who you are. Your pain is not a punishment. It's a signal, a messenger, a call to look inward, to ask questions, to grieve what was, but to also imagine what asterisks could be asterisk. And that's not easy. Transformation never is. It's uncomfortable. It's uncertain. It asks you to sit with emotions that feel like fire. But that fire doesn't just burn. It forges. It makes you real, honest, unshakable. You'll notice it in small ways at first. The day you say no to something that used to scare you. The moment you walk into a room and don't shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort. The first time you laugh, really laugh, and it's not forced. It's not hiding pain. It's just joy. Yours. And maybe the most beautiful part of it all is this. Once you start healing, you start helping. Your pain becomes the story someone else needs to hear. Your scars become someone else's permission to believe that they too can get up again. You become living proof that the end is not the end. That the pain that brought you to your knees also taught you how to stand taller than ever before. I know it hurts. I know it feels unfair. And I won't pretend that what you went through didn't matter. But what I will tell you is this. What you do with that pain, that's where your power lives. That's where the reinvention begins. Not by pretending to be okay. Not by rushing the healing, but by choosing every single day to show up, to breathe, to feel, to take one step forward, even if your legs are shaking. Because that one step, it's more than enough. The truth is, you are not broken beyond repair. You are being reshaped. And yes, it's painful. Yes, it's raw, but it's also real, and it's yours. So when the pain feels too big to carry, remember this. It's not the weight that defines you. It's how you rise in the midst of it. You don't have to rush. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep choosing you. And that is the most powerful transformation of all. There's a misconception out there that after a divorce, you're somehow supposed to be fixed quickly. As if the end of a marriage should be treated like any other problem, solved and boxed up neatly with a bow. But the truth is, reinvention takes time. And not just any kind of time, but the kind of time that asks you to get to know yourself again. Not as someone's wife, not as a mother, but as you, just as you are. And that's the part people often forget. They forget that the journey is messy. It's beautiful and heartbreaking and soul-stirring all at once. But more than that, it's an opportunity. It's a chance to really take a good hard look at the life you want to create. One where you get to define every piece, every part of it. The fear of being alone. The doubt that creeps in when the silence feels overwhelming. Those are real feelings, and they deserve to be acknowledged. It's easy to look around and think that everyone else has it figured out while you're standing there, still piecing together the shards of a life that feels like it just fell apart. But here's what I want you to understand. You are not the sum of what you've lost. You are not defined by your past. You are the author of what comes next. At first, it can feel overwhelming to even think about what you want next. It can feel like standing in front of an empty canvas, wondering if you'll ever be able to paint anything beautiful again. There's so much pressure to move on, to get over it, and to just get your life back to normal. But the truth is, you're not trying to go back. You're moving forward into something new, something you've never been before. And it's okay if you don't know exactly what that looks like yet. It's okay if you're still figuring out what you want. It's okay if you're taking small steps instead of big leaps. The important thing is that you're taking any steps at all. That's what matters, the willingness to show up for yourself every day, even when it feels easier to hide. When I think about reinvention, I think of it like planting a garden. You start with a tiny seed, something small and fragile. Maybe you're not sure it will grow, and maybe there are days when you doubt your ability to nurture it. But over time, with patience, care, and a little bit of faith, that seed will bloom into something beautiful, something you could never have imagined at the start. Reinvention doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in one giant leap. It's in the daily choices, the quiet moments of self-discovery, and the courage to keep going, even when it feels like everything is standing still. So many women after divorce feel like they've lost everything. The identity they built, the dreams they cherished, the life they thought they'd have, they all seem to slip through their fingers, leaving nothing but emptiness. But here's the beautiful part. Emptiness is not failure. It's possibility. It's the space where new things grow, things that are more authentic, more aligned with who you truly are, not just who you were trying to be for someone else. And that's where the magic happens. Reinventing yourself after divorce doesn't mean fixing what's broken. It means letting go of the idea that you have to be perfect, that you have to be whole right away. It's about giving yourself permission to be a work in progress, to embrace the mess, and to trust that you will emerge from it stronger, more confident, and more grounded in who you really are. For me, reinvention meant rediscovering my own strength. For so long, I had relied on others to define me. My spouse, my family, society. But once that part of my life was gone, I was forced to confront the most important question of all. Who am I when there's no one else telling me who I should be? I didn't have the answer right away. In fact, I didn't have any answers at all. But I did have one thing that I didn't realize I had before: the freedom to be myself. It's terrifying to step into the unknown. It's terrifying to admit that you don't have everything figured out. But what I learned is that vulnerability is where your power lives. It's in the moments where you admit that you don't have all the answers, but you're willing to keep searching. It's in the willingness to let yourself evolve and change, to embrace the unknown, and to trust that every step, no matter how small, is leading you to a better place. When you stop chasing someone else's version of your life, you start creating a life that truly reflects who you are and what you want. For some, that means building a career they're passionate about. For others, it means reconnecting with their friends, traveling, learning new skills, or exploring new hobbies. It might even mean falling in love with yourself again, and understanding that you don't need anyone else to complete you. But here's the catch. The reinvention process doesn't happen in isolation. It doesn't happen when you lock yourself away and think you have to figure it all out alone. It happens when you open up. It happens when you ask for help, when you seek support from the people who love you and the people who know you best. It happens when you connect with others who understand what you're going through and who can share their own journeys of healing. Reinvention is not a solo mission. It's a collective experience, one that we're all part of. So I encourage you, if you're feeling lost, if you're unsure, if you're stuck in the pain of what's behind you, take a breath. Let go of the need to have it all figured out right now. Trust that you are in the process of creating something extraordinary. You don't have to see the full picture today. Just keep moving. Keep showing up. Keep trusting that every step is a step forward, even if it's a small one. And know this, you are not alone. Your reinvention is already happening, one step at a time. The best is yet to come. There are moments in life when we feel like we're being pulled in two different directions, torn between the past and the future, between who we once were and who we're trying to become. After divorce, it can feel like the world is moving forward, while you're standing still trying to catch up with the pieces of your own life. It's easy to fall into a trap of comparing your journey to others, wondering why things didn't go the way you planned, or questioning your worth. In those quiet moments, you might feel like you're broken, like the life you thought you had is now just a shadow of what could have been. But the truth is, you are not broken. You are simply in the middle of a transformation, a process of rediscovering who you really are. There's something incredibly powerful about being in that space of uncertainty, when everything is up in the air. It's in those moments when the world feels like it's collapsing around you, that you are given the gift of choice. You have the opportunity to decide how you want to move forward. And that decision, that moment of reclaiming your power, is the start of your reinvention. Think about it. You've already been through so much emotional turmoil, heartache, self-doubt, and you're still standing. That alone is something worth celebrating. But what comes next is even more extraordinary. After the storm, there's a stillness. It's in that stillness that you can hear the soft whispers of who you truly are. It's in the quiet moments, when no one else is watching, that you begin to realize how strong you really are. At first, it might feel like you're walking in the dark, uncertain of where you're headed, or if you're heading in the right direction. There might be days when the fear of being alone feels suffocating, when the silence of an empty house weighs heavy on your heart. And those moments are valid. It's okay to grieve, to mourn the loss of what was, and to allow yourself to feel everything that comes with it. But here's what I want you to know. You are not meant to stay in the grief. You're meant to rise from it. You are meant to use that pain as the fuel for your rebirth. The beauty of reinvention after divorce is that you get to redefine your life. You don't have to fit into the box that society expects of you. You don't have to follow the path that was laid out for you by someone else. You have the power to create something new, something that aligns with your truest self. And that process of redefining your life isn't always smooth. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it takes time. But it's also one of the most courageous things you will ever do. When you begin to step into this new version of yourself, there may be moments of self-doubt. You might question your worth, wonder if you're good enough, or fear that you'll never be able to move past the pain. But every time you fight through those doubts, every time you choose to get up, you are proving to yourself just how strong you are. The strength you're building now isn't the kind that comes from never having experienced pain. It's the kind that comes from facing your pain head on and refusing to let it define you. As you continue to move forward, you'll start to notice little things. The way you feel when you wake up in the morning, the way you embrace the silence of your own company, the way you start making choices for yourself without needing anyone else's approval. You'll realize that you're no longer living for someone else's dream, but for your own. And that realization, it's transformative. It's easy to look back on your past and wish things had turned out differently. It's easy to hold on to the what-ifs and the maybes, to wonder what could have been, if only things had gone according to plan. But the truth is, the life you have right now, the life you're creating, is the one that's meant for you. Your journey is unique, and every step you take, even the ones that feel uncertain, are leading you to something greater. You're not going backwards. You're moving forward into a future that is full of possibility. And even though it may feel like you're starting from scratch, you're actually building on the foundations of everything you've already learned, every lesson from your past, every experience, every relationship, whether good or bad, has shaped you into the person you are today. And now you get to take all of that wisdom and use it to build a life that truly reflects who you are, who you want to become, and what you want to achieve. I want you to understand this. You are worthy of everything that's ahead of you. You are worthy of love, of joy, of peace, and of happiness. The end of your marriage doesn't mark the end of your story. It's just a chapter, and you get to write the next one. It's not going to be easy. There will be challenges, and there will be days when you question everything. But remember that you are not alone in this. There are countless women who have walked this same path and emerged stronger, braver, and more whole than they ever imagined. Every step you take is a victory. Every day that you choose to move forward is a triumph. And with every new beginning, you're reclaiming a part of yourself that maybe you forgot was even there. That part of you that is fierce, that is resilient, that is unbreakable. You are not starting over. You are starting anew. You are not defined by what you've lost. You are defined by what you are about to create. So as you stand on the edge of this new chapter, know that the best is yet to come. You are not too late. Your story is far from over. And the life you're about to build will be more beautiful, more fulfilling, and more powerful than you ever imagined. The world is waiting for you to show up in the fullness of who you are. And you're ready, of course. Below is the 850-word segment. Expanding key point 1. You are not behind in life just because you're divorced. Society's timeline is a lie. It's written in a seamless emotional and conversational tone that flows naturally with your speech. There's this silent clock society places over your head, Like you're supposed to hit certain milestones by a certain age. Married by 30, kids by 35, a stable career, a happy home, smiling pictures during the holidays. And if for any reason your life doesn't line up with that script, it whispers things to you. Things that sound like, you're late, you failed, you missed your chance. But what no one tells you is that this timeline isn't real. It's made up. It's a story written by people who don't know your journey, people who have no idea what you've survived. So when divorce happens, especially later in life, it feels like a double loss. You're not just grieving the relationship, you're grieving the picture of the life you thought you were supposed to have. And society doesn't really make space for that. It rushes you. It wants you to move on. Get back out there. Look on the bright side. But how do you do that when you feel like your whole life is on pause while everyone else is moving forward? I remember a woman I met at a retreat. She was in her mid-40s, newly divorced, and she sat across from me, tears in her eyes, saying, I feel like everyone's miles ahead of me, and I'm just here, starting over, again. And my heart broke for her, not because she was behind, but because she truly believed she was. That belief, that lie, is what keeps so many women stuck. It's not the divorce itself, it's the shame, the invisible pressure to prove you're okay, to catch up, to not be the one who didn't make it. But let me tell you something, with every ounce of truth I have, just because your life looks different now, does asterisk not asterisk mean it's less meaningful. There is no clock, there is no race. You are not late to your life. You are right on time for a new beginning. Divorce doesn't erase your worth. It doesn't put you at the back of the line. It doesn't cancel your capacity for joy, or love, or reinvention. If anything, it reveals your strength. That starting over isn't weakness. It's bravery. Think about it. You walked away from something that wasn't working. You faced the unknown. You stood in the wreckage of what once felt like your future. And you chose to rebuild, not because you had to, but because deep down, some part of you still believed there's more life left to live. That's not failure. That's power.